So one of them have to get a podium so we can hear them.
I think we can hear it, everybody can hear it. Some concerns that I have with the agreement that we discussed in closed session. Article 2.1 lists the clerk 1 and the clerk 2 and the bargaining unit as the public works department. Those are purely administrative positions. So I would ask that they be removed from that.
Well, when we filed with the Bureau of Mediation Services, that's what the state came out in statute as the Public Works Administrative. So you're asking for clerk 1, clerk 2?
Clerk 1, clerk 2, right? The utility clerk public works admin stays there, but the clerk 1, clerk 2 are purely administrative.
Yeah, I guess one question is, you're not looking to hire clerk 1 or clerk 2, are you, to bring?
I don't know right now.
Okay.
And yeah, and I think I would add to that is, I mean, that's using a terminology that is just purely an admin side of the office. You know, I guess there's a chance that you could hire another utility clerk, public works. You know, if that ever happened one day.
Get another 3,000 people, I mean.
Yeah, exactly. What you're supposed to do by the year 2045.
2020, yeah.
But
job title right now. What is Anna's job title right now?
She is utility clerk, public works admin.
And you guys are just asking for clerk 1 and 2?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, we're okay with that. Local 40, we're fine with that.
Okay, thank you.
12.3, where it states, if other employees are needed to perform the call-out assignment, such overtime work shall be distributed equally. We think that it needs to have some kind of clause to stipulate that unless the work required mandates special skills. In other words, if I need a specific job done, I can't share that job if not everyone has the same skills.
You say again?
Well, if you have an overtime that the job requires specific skills and say 3 of you don't have those skills, then you can't share that overtime equally because it only goes to people that have the skill for the job.
But the intent of that language was to just, instead of doing it in seniority order, was that the group would identify and rotate the work around.
Understand, and I agree with your intent. I just want to make sure that we're not caught behind the 8 ball because we gave a specific job that required a specific skill and gave overtime, you know, 2 times in a row because that job needed to be done twice, and we didn't share overtime with anyone else because that person was the one that should have done that job. So just something to the effect that unless work required mandates specific skills. So
if some overtime work is needed by someone who has a certain license, that person might have to go twice in a row if circumstances warrant. I mean, I think overall we made in our discussions we said consistently that, you know, the employer is responsible for how the work schedules are managed. But I guess the concern is the city doesn't want to be called out on the carpet for having overtime maybe to one person more than the others if something is required where a certain license or something is required for the overtime work. I don't know how much it's going to come up in the real world, but I think that's the concern stated.
Well, if you go back to Article 1, and that covers the city because of it says the city establishes certain hours, wages, and other conditions of employment. So the city can step in and decide if if they see that there's a problem where one person is getting a certain amount of overtime, the city can step in and say something, or can, make comments or change the direction or the condition of the job or the overtime. So I think you're covered there, as far as in Article 1.1.
Then there's also section 11.1. The authority of work schedules is the employer.
Exactly.
I mean, I know during our discussions, we center mostly on, we don't want to have just seniority always gets overtime first dibs every time.
Well, that's why we didn't put that in.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I guess, this, I don't know if we talked specifically about what the mayor's talking about.
Okay.
So.
The other concern that they have is on Appendix A, and the CPI-U. We need to call out whether that's the average for the previous year, or whether that will be the rolling 12 average, and when that's given.
Well, normally in this unit, the raises went in April, right? So we wanted to, with the CPI, we wanted that done in,
we had discussed in February, because that comes out in mid-March, so that could be ready for April 1st. So that still needs, the April needs to be changed to February.
that's right. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, we can change that, that's fine.
And then can we add a rolling 12 average?
Is that CPI-U by definition a rolling 12 average? I can't remember.
Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure.
No, that was the US.
They can only share with you, but.
That was.
Yeah, they do give you an average at the end of the year that's pretty finite, but the rolling 12, I don't know if that's finite or not.
No, I know in our other agreements, we don't normally put that, the rolling 12 average, I mean, but do you use that in your other labor agreements with the city?
No, that was based on the previous year, the average of the previous year.
So what's your concern of having that in there, if I might ask?
Well, just that it be based on that either a rolling 12 or the previous year, one of the two. The average for the previous year is fine, or a rolling 12 average is fine, either one.
Okay.
So,
I mean, if you wanted to take April out and put, for 2017, it would be 2016 CPI-U average, that'd be great.
Looks to me that
the one that we were looking at is the unadjusted 12 months for the last 12 months.
Does it say a number that you have there, Melissa?
What?
Do you have a number there that I was going to compare with what I just pulled up?
Let's see if I have. Well, I'm looking at the one ending in April, so I have the wrong one. Let me pull up the February one.
Last 12 months.
I'm just doing the last one that we have available, which is September to September, and it's 1.5.
September to September. Okay, hold on. So September 2016.
15 to 16.
Yep, 1.5.
Yeah, unadjusted percent change.
Yep, that's the one.
So I think that'd be the one we would use. So
Yeah. Isn't that what you normally use the previous year?
Yep.
We get a raise for the last 12 months anyway.
So in February, mid-February.
You'd be looking,
So the February one will be published in mid-March.
Mid-March,
Yes. So that,
Because this one came out October 21st for September.
yeah, so then Wendy will have that number for April.
But, so it might help to put what number we're pulling out in this appendix A instead of what we have now. I mean, because now we say, we're going for the unadjusted percent change rolling 12-month average. That's the number we're picking out for that. That makes sense.
Better, yeah.
Because we have to change it anyway, because it says April.
Yeah.
So we want to go March,
Oh, it's still February.
February.
Still February.
oh, still February, for the
Yeah,
previous
yeah,
year.
still February.
So then we don't need to add the rolling 12, or the previous 12 year, previous year, because that's already in when this comes out. So are you still requesting a change to that, other than February?
I mean, it's kind of a belt and suspenders aspect to include the 12-month rolling, language in there. Either way, I see it's 6 one, half dozen the other in my mind.
Just makes it clear what we're using.
I can work on that language if you want.
And then the last one has to do with the ceiling for the wage range. And we don't address a ceiling for the wage range on a cap as far as increases. In our other union agreement, we put in that employees at the top of their pay range will not be eligible for a wage increase, but would be eligible for a COLA adjustment up to the 2% based on that CPIU.
Right, so 2017 and 2018, are saying employees covered under this agreement shall receive a 2% wage increase based on February CPIU, an additional 3% increase the successful annual performance review.
Which that actually needs to be changed to quarterly.
Quarterly reviews based on the final annual review.
Yes, it's an annual determination with 4 kind of sub-reviews.
Chance if
It still needs to be written it still needs to be written down that they're getting a quarterly performance
Yeah,
review, though.
because you guys wanted it to state in there that you guys wanted the quarterly review.
We want
To
to,
do a quarterly review based on the final annual performance review.
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
And so what are your thoughts on the ceiling clause in there?
With the CPIU or with the quarterly annually review?
Quarterly annual review.
No, I was talking about a ceiling based on wage range. Because now we have a wage range based on jobs. That's market analysis. And I'm looking at those that are at the top of that wage range would not get an increase in a pay increase, but would be eligible for a COLA. So the COLA, the whole range moves up, but they would not be eligible for anything above that wage range until there's another market study done, which is done every 3 years, if I'm not mistaken, right, Megan?
We have to do a pay equity report every 3 years. But yeah, it's always good to keep the wage ranges up to date too.
Like a minimum and maximum? Is that what you're suggesting?
Well, there's a wage range, there's a minimum, maximum for that position, that job. That's market analysis, based on the market analysis. And what we're looking at is that if someone's at the very top of that wage range, then the language we have here gives them a 3% increase, which pushes them outside the wage range. If we allow them COLA, the whole wage range moves up with everything, because the COLA moves the whole table up. But that wage range will still be the same absent the COLA. So I'm looking at something that caps that to say that they would not be eligible for a pay increase if they're at the top of their pay range, but they would get a COLA.
Like a figure number? Like
No,
a
what
percentage
I've
number?
got is that, because we've got the pay ranges right now for those jobs that are done by the market analysis.
Right.
Okay, and what I'm looking at is something that has a statement in there that says that employees that are at the top of their pay range won't be eligible for a wage increase, but would be eligible for a cost of living adjustment up to that 2% based on the state, or excuse me, the federal CPIU.
But the wage equity study is a controversial tool, and it's debated on what company that you picked that would come up and do such a study like that. And the one that the city of Montrose used was an accounting firm. It wasn't really a wastewater or public sector group. I can bring different studies to contradict what that study said. But with that said, I think that we established during negotiations some fair and equitable pay ranges that we have listed today. And I think a cap that you might be talking about right here with our language is that there's going to be nothing over 5% in year 2017 or 2018. So there is an artificial cap with the language that's stated.
Right, but we don't have anything that shows that wage range cap or anything that addresses it.
Well,
because if we continue on this one, eventually we're going to get to that, and that wage range cap. If we're doing a 5% increase every year, if there is a 5% increase, because that may not be what the market bears.
Correct.
In Michelle's 10-step plan, or in Jill's 10-step plan, she didn't see the wage ranges that were in there.
She took it all out.
Okay, correct. Yep. So that 10-step plan that Jill had all laid out, that we came to you with, that was the wage ranges that we had from the plan, from our study. And so that's what we started with, and we didn't deviate much from there. So that's kind of what he's getting at. If we were able to construct a step plan similar to that to use, that would in essence be the wage range. Although you guys wouldn't be you wouldn't be utilizing the whole 10 steps, you would be doing, because this is only going for 3 years, you would be, doing 2 essentially, before the contract renews.
Well, I think we'd have to go back into negotiations and to sit down with that portion.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's what he's getting at. That's what you base that on.
Isn't the step plan that Jill had equivalent to what?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely.
So basically,
they're talking about.
yes, and basically the step plan that she had, that's how we came up with these numbers. It's just not written out as an actual chart. It's just written out differently. We were able to put it into percentages.
So, do you think that this could be just a revision to this appendix with maybe including more of those chart-based numbers?
I think it could be in a revision. I don't see that, but the only thing that I'm looking at is that if you've got somebody that is at the top of their pay range that the market bears, that we're not giving them a 3% raise on top of being at the top of their range. We give them a COLA because that's cost of living. I agree with moving the whole range up, but if the market doesn't bear that change, then we shouldn't be promoting or paying people above what that market will bear for that position.
So if I can just ask this question, this might not be known at this point, but it does a 10-step, I'll call it 10-step chart basically. Doesn't that automatically make sure that you're not bumping up against the ceiling in a pay range because it's just allowing for these steps as you go along?
That is correct.
So you'll never hit the ceiling if we stick to that document, which I think is pretty close, very close to what we're doing anyway here.
It is.
It's basically the same thing. It's just presented differently.
Okay.
Yes.
So basically, we would put, it's just presented differently.
So are we do an amendment to that, or address that?
Yeah, so I guess next is what do we need to do to show that, and that's something that we might, I don't think it's having to go back to step 1.
Yeah.
Oh, no, because I think we were all agreeable to these terms. I think it's just actually putting it into.
Do we just need to have the chart inputted?
Pretty
in
much,
here?
yeah.
The 10-step plan just
Something says the pay ranges are as follows.
implemented into
The 10-step plan with perhaps a shading to what this contract will cover, because the rest of out in the out years.
Pretty much, yeah.
How come Jill had this week?
Yeah, she's going to be December too.
Yep.
But she will be available to the time of meeting.
Yeah.
So can we do that with
It's
the
contracts
vendor?
for 3 years, why the 10 steps?
What,
Can't we do that in another contract? I mean, after 2018, because we are following right in with the 10 steps when we looked at that, and if I remember correctly, one of our wages was below one of those steps.
I don't know, is it possible
is
to
that
just,
Wayne?
is it possible to just put in something in this contract that says if you're at the top of this range, you're only gonna get the COLA with the knowing that none of these guys are gonna get to the top of this range in this contract? And then for the next contract, then we put in that actual step plan, is that,
Yeah, that's what we'll do on that.
does that make sense? I mean,
What is your guys' input on that?
Do you agree that nobody's going to really reach the top range in this first contract?
I agree.
Yeah.
because you guys, it's the same chart, you guys have all seen it, you know you're not gonna
We're not gonna hit
You're
it.
not gonna max out in the
And
next
why would
3
you put a
years.
10-step
And why put it
program in there when it's only for 3 years?
I think that's because that was, they had a 10-step one that was in the comparable worth study. So that's what we were looking at when we originally,
Yeah. Well, this
Started
is kind
working
of
on
like
numbers.
a 3-step program off that 10-step
Yeah,
program.
The 10 steps is condensed to the 3 steps.
yes, yes.
Yes.
I mean, we're willing to change Article 2 to take out Clerk 1, Clerk 2. I think the overtime's fine, but we're willing to make a statement in there, and I thought, you know, by adding the distributed equally, we could cover that, because initially,
I think we're okay as long as we agree that Article 1.1 and 11.1 allow us to address specific work requires specific people.
okay.
And yeah, no matter what, we're gonna have the best we got on if we have a specific
Yeah,
problem.
that's just what I'm looking at. I don't want to end up in a grievance because we had the right person for the right job do the overtime.
So I think the question for the council is, because we're zeroing in on Appendix A for some of these clarifications, do you want to conditionally vote on this tonight, or do you want to have these changes made before that vote happens?
Well, I think,
Yes, they have the changes.
are you gonna be, you said you were gonna do the language
On the
for the
CPI.
CPI, and we're gonna change it to quarterly performance reviews. What kind of language could we put in about the range? About hitting it?
I think we could put in that statement that's similar to the other union agreement about maxing out.
Yeah.
With the, almost 100% assurance that that's not going to affect the people of this agreement in this 3-year term.
Agreed.
I'm comfortable with that.
Statement?
Yeah, I mean,
And then the other point too is, we have to be determined under 4117, 4118. I don't know if you want to see that 3-step program, I'll call it, there, under the caveat that these people aren't automatically going to get that, because they got to get the performance.
and I think that was put in because there was the possibility that they might not get the full increase each year, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Can you repeat? Yeah, I didn't quite.
The TBD under,
Yeah, because, yeah, it would be determined after the quarterly reviews.
Okay,
And then
okay.
CPI, yeah, that's
okay,
what
that's what I
we're-
got, yep,
Yeah.
okay. No, I'm comfortable with conditionally accepting that based on those changes.
So then we won't put in a charge or anything. We're just
No.
making a
Not,
statement
not for
that
this one, as long as we
there
have
is
that
a C,
statement
there's
in
a
there.
proverbial ceiling.
Statement, okay.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Is that statement in the other agreement?
Yes.
Okay.
So we have one council member that says that's okay. Anybody else on that? Whether you want to go forward on that understanding?
Moving forward, yes.
Okay, February 2000, for the CCIU.
Now that Andy knows which one we're using, he'll clarify the language of that.
Any make this motion?
So I can have it, can make it.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the bargaining agreement with the local 49 as amended with our previous discussion.
Conditionally remove quick 1, quick 2.
Conditional.
Added a ceiling statement for wage range and adjustment for the CPIU to February.
As stated by Greg.
As of 12. I second. Lloyd?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
Michelle?
Aye.
I vote aye. Motion carries 4-0.
So we'll email around. I think
Yeah.
I'll do the CPI.
Okay, I can take it February and I'll review that statement. Yeah,
Anything further for the city? Motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to it.
Second.
All in favor?